Welcome to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode. Mike is back. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, what's happening, y'all? What's good?
Any changes to the life?
Yeah, actually, remember we was talking about jumping into the voiceover
Yeah.
thing. So I ended up finding a mentor and some coaching and signed up for classes and shit. So that's fitting to kick off next week, actually. Next Tuesday will be my first like real sit down chat class and all this stuff with the actual instructor and coach. So I'm excited about that, bro.
Are
Like,
are you making like a LinkedIn profile? Or are you making any type of like portfolio for people to hear your voice?
yeah, that this is all like the whole class and thing is all set up to help you get on your feet and get demos going and send out to people and whatnot and actually try to land some voiceover gigs. So I'm excited, man. Like it's like because I needed like guidance, you know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
know how to start some things, but this is something new that I'm venturing in. So I try to look for people that like have experience in it and just try to get some guidance in that way, So I signed up for some stuff, man, to get things going. So I'm excited for it to happen.
Well, I think you need guidance in really anything. It's nice to have tips. People say you can use YouTube, and I'm like, yeah, in some cases, sure. But like
Hmm.
when it comes to anything, if you notice business wise, like trying to get like how to do a podcast, you'll have a guy who's creating content, but like he'll do 10 videos on how to do a podcast when it's just real simple. You get onto Anchor, you get a phone or something, record your voice, then upload it onto there. It's not that difficult, surprisingly, to be able to put your voice out on the air. But people want content, they want views, they want money, so they're gonna make 15 videos on how to fucking floss your teeth correctly. I'm like, look, I'm
Hmm.
still not fucking doing it.
You just gonna let that shit build up and eventually fall out, huh?
You can brush your teeth, you'll be fine. I mean, I don't have the prettiest mouth anyway, but I don't see the whole flossing gig. Like when someone's like after every meal they have to brush their teeth, I'm like, where do you have the time? Do you bring a travel size toothbrush with you?
So, some people do, man. Like me personally, I always have a thing of floss with me just because I get shit caught up in there and I have to get it out. Like it annoys me when I get something caught in my teeth and I can't get it. And I'm not gonna sit there with like a fork or a business card and try to scrape shit out. You know what
That's
I mean?
just
That's why
creepy. That's
floss.
just creepy. People do that with their credit cards and shit. I'm like, that's not right. That doesn't belong in your mouth. You're not a child. It literally, do we have to put on adult credit cards that you should not put this in your mouth? Warning, if you're over 60 or under 60, do not shove in your mouth.
Look, I had to talk with my son. Like, look, this is why I have floss here, boy. Use this, not your finger, not some cord, not a pencil or whatever you got that's sharp enough to get in there. Like here, I always keep, and I picked that up from my brother. It's crazy because my brother, when I was younger, he always had floss on him. I never understood why, And then after I got older and started watching, I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense now. You know what I mean?
I get the dental picks, but you mostly find them like on the street or something when you're walking. Like I always come across, like as I'm walking like into a grocery store, there's like 50,000 dental picks littered through the parking lot. I'm like, I want to know this person's life. I want to know what they ate before. Like, are you doing like brushing your teeth? Imagine sitting down at like a nice golf course style restaurant. You got, all these high class people. You're getting like a nice juicy steak that's like $300. And when it sits down, every bite that they take, they brush their teeth. They do a quick zhuzh. That same
Just a
person that
quick
does
get it
that,
clean.
well, that same person that does that probably eats pussy with a dental dam.
Hey, look, sometimes motherfuckers don't want to have that mess. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, do you only eat it at like high class restaurants? Because that's even weirder. Do you do it when it's fast food too? Because honestly, if I saw someone at like a Popeyes or a Wendy's and they're shoving fast food in their mouth and brushing their teeth after every bite, I would just be like, that's the least of your concerns. Like the biggest concern
Like,
would be the fact that that person probably did something to that food, spit on it.
yeah, or has a hair in it. Like, I, well, me being a trucker, I've also seen, because truck drivers, they really don't have that luxury. Some of them, they're LTL, and they actually after they eat, they'll go into a bathroom and brush their teeth. I've seen them do this, a lot. Like I'll be at
Oh,
rest areas and I'll see dudes brushing their teeth in the rest area. I'm like, I don't know if it's the most sanitary place I would brush my teeth at. You know what I mean?
I would recommend like in the truck, but then at the same time, we all know those horror commercials of a person doing their eyeliner or something like that and the fucking slam on the
Yeah,
brakes. That would scare me too. But a gas stop or something's restroom, like I
bruh.
don't even
Some
like
of these
walking
truckers
in
don't
there.
give a damn, bruh.
Oh,
Like even some of their trucks themselves. Like when I was doing detailing work and I was detailing semis, like the sleeper cabs, some of the motherfuckers just fucking filthy, man. Like I'm like, oh my god, I think I need to have like a whole hazmat suit on in some of these motherfucking truckers sleeper cabs because some of them can be common. They're old school truckers and they've been on the road for shit 30 years or more and they have their own shit, chances are they want grimy truckers. You know what I'm saying?
is it weird to think that one day you're going to be driving your truck and you're going to hear your own voice on the radio for some type of advertisement?
You know what? I thought about that because I'm like, man, I probably would flip out like if I had an album. You know what I'm
Or
saying?
like
And I hear
Justin
my song played on
Timberlake.
the radio.
Justin Timberlake's I'm Loving It. He's for McDonald's and they paid him like what a large sum of cash to use it as much as they want. And now you think he's just one day just like driving down the road and hears a McDonald's ad on his radio and he's like, that's my voice. I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Look, I'm gonna say that to everybody though. Hey, y'all know that's me, right? That's me right there. Yeah, I did that. That was me.
But then people are going to question you, like, how do we know? Then you got to pull up like your bank statement from like whenever you recorded it and be like, well, here's
Oh,
where
I
they
ain't gonna
gave
pull
me
up
the
the.
money.
I'll do the original joint. Like here's my original recording of it. So you compare apples to apples. Oh, that ain't you. That's cool. Don't believe me. It's all
That
right.
that's the thing though, is like even if you give them the original, you give them the live version, it never sounds like the recorded version. Like sometimes it's really, really better, and sometimes it's really, really worse. Like trying to listen to Post Malone outside of his like songs, like when he's at a concert or
Yeah.
something, it's like he's a really nice guy, which is why I think people still really love to listen to him, but he does not sound the same at all.
Nah. It's like David East. I didn't know David East sounded like he sounds when he's rapping versus talking. I'm like, oh, that's totally different right there.
Yeah. I want them to edit my voice as much as they possibly can to make it sound better when I rap. I just don't
Yeah,
like anything hearing my voice back. I can't handle it.
which to me is funny because man, you do this podcast, man, and it's all over everything. You know what I mean? So
I never
you
listened
do,
to
do
back
you
to an
ever?
episode though.
You really don't.
No, I can't. I mean, I liked some of the content and stuff, but even when I edit, like I got to the point where I edit now where I just cut off the beginning when Zoom has to talk and let everyone know that you're recording. And then if there's
Uh-huh.
any pause breaks is like the worst thing for me. Like I have some episodes that just cut because like the connection lags out, someone times out. I have to pause the meeting. I have to find those pauses and clip those out. And that's the scariest thing to me because then I have the chance of coming across my own fucking voice. And that, I mean, a lot of people say, like, I want you, like, I've been offered to like narrate someone's book for them before, but I'm like, I don't know what you see in it. And it's kind of like one of my favorite comedians, Ryan Sickler. He's a Baltimore born and bred. Uh,
Yeah.
his laugh is the funniest fucking laugh to me. But everyone else is like, I can't stand his laugh. And you got two sides of the spectrum: people that can't and won't listen to him because of his laugh, or people that really love him and appreciate his laugh because it's like Ace Frehley's laugh. It's that comedic comedy, like clown, ha ha, ha, like that type thing.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to me and to a lot of other people. You probably like it too. But some people just they're polarized by it.
It's like with me, it's Fran Drescher. You know what I mean? There are a lot of guys like love this woman that I know, and I'm like, I can't stand her just because it's her voice that annoys the piss out of me.
I
It's
don't.
just difficult to hear.
I mean, they don't. You just get in a silent relationship, I would say.
Eventually, you're gonna have to say something like, "Hey, what do you want to eat?" Hi. You
Well,
know what I'm saying?
Elon's going to fix that. He's going to put that chip in your head to be able to communicate your thoughts to people.
Man, nah, I don't want that chip in my head because think of this for a second. You get this chip in your head, right? Hackers download and hack your chip that's in you and control some shit you got going the fuck on. Put some fucked up thoughts in your head.
Maybe they make you a better person. Like, can you
Mm,
imagine the person who's walking down the street just miserable as shit, but they hack your chip to just make you happy as a clam? Like, that's something you want. But would they do that though, or would they go to the ATM and get all the money out of your account?
if not your account, at least have you hold up a bank or something. You know what I mean? Like I got like it'd be like Grand Theft Auto, except real life. You know, you hack somebody's chip and you got them running around stealing cars and shit. And I'm gonna take them to the strip club and blow all this fucking money.
I bet there's a statistic out there that you're less likely to get hacked, you're less likely to get like shot, you're less likely to get into a fight if you're wearing a cross around your neck and everyone knows you're a Jesus freak. Like, there's definitely a
Yeah,
statistic out there that, because whenever I'm in traffic or something and everyone's like all like yelling at each other because people are just turning without their turn signals and doing whatever they feel like they're in their own reality. If you see a Jesus van with a bunch of people singing the holy word, you're less likely to flick that person off. You're just going to be like,
mm,
okay, I'm not going to do that in case there is a heaven. I don't want to go to hell, you know?
there are some people that think that way, but I'm one of those cats that think everybody. I'm like an equal employer opportunist right here. You know, everybody catch it. If you're in a wheelchair and acting an asshole, I'll flick you off. If you in that Jesus van and you cut me the fuck off and y'all are singing with a bunch of nuns, I'll flick you the fuck off. You know what I mean? It don't
Okay,
matter.
better question. Are you more tuned up or ramped up when you're driving a giant truck, or are you more tuned up when you're just driving your regular car?
I'd have to say driving a car because the truck, it because I carry waste oil. You know what I mean? I don't want none of that shit to spill and have the EPA and all that shit, you know. And I gotta be on point with it because people do ignorant shit on the road, and I gotta constantly be like worried about that because people will cut you off and won't realize that this isn't a car. This fucker cannot
Yeah.
stop as fast as your car stops. And if I got fluid in this, it's gonna push me in a direction that maybe this truck does not want to go. So I gotta be on my P's and Q's with that. Now, as far as my car, I kind of like whip that in and out like I'm NASCAR in it sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, we have this snowstorm and I was driving last night and all the lights are like there's snow in the light. So you can't really tell what color it is. Like, you can't tell if there's even lights on. And I was driving, I was like, I just ran a fucking red. I was like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I just ran a red. I was like, I'll know when a fucking ticket shows up to my mailbox. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
cause you look, that was one thing I learned out in Maryland. Y'all motherfuckers got a lot of them damn traffic cameras
every street,
or speed cameras.
every street, there's a freaking one. And I'm like, I got to fight that in court. I got to be like, hey, man, you got to understand, I'm going 60 something and the roads are freaking like
Yeah, it was
icy.
inclement weather.
Yeah. But they'll be like, it was red for like a whole mile. They watched you like you weren't even paying attention. I was like, sorry, I was thinking about some shit.
Yeah, man. Like I saw that shit up in Maryland when I was doing my routes and stuff up there, and I'm like, man, every time I turn a corner, my GPS would say speed camera or speed trap or whatever. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like what? God damn, they really are raping you guys with these damn tickets out here with these speed traps. I'm like, there's some places where it doesn't even need to be there, but they just got one there.
There's and then you have people that like live in the neighborhood and are tired of like people like taking like going down it's say it's 25. People are going 30 down there and then people just lose their mind. So what they do is they
Uh huh.
install their own speed bumps. And then you got these really shabbily ass speed bumps. Like, one is a speed bump and then it's like 10 feet, then it's another speed bump. So you're like, my car is just getting beat to shit. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
one out in front of the IHOP that they just placed there so people would slow down around that turn thing. It is the worst speed bump. It's too big. So when you hit, your whole car slams down and comes right back up. And I'm like, this is going to be like bad on my axles.
But they don't care about that as long as you're going slow enough not to fuck somebody up if you happen to hit somebody, which you're in an IHOP parking lot. I mean, how much stunting you gonna do in an IHOP parking lot?
Surprisingly, when people go out and smoke like a Marlboro cigarette mid break, or I would say like round two before they go and tear up a nice thing of flapjacks, they're
Mhm.
ramped up, man. And they're not normal cigarettes either. They're 100s. So that's like a 3 minute
Oh shit,
cigarette.
they get that. They getting them motherfucking lung killers right there.
Well, I mean, I don't want to.
Them hundreds, man. That they take like 5 to 10 minutes to smoke.
I don't want to be rude, but I'm just saying, like, most of the time where you'll see the most action is at like a Denny's parking lot at 3 o'clock in the morning or some type of buffet. And then I have questions about the buffet. Like, is it okay to judge people if you're eating at the same buffet? Like, there are some people where there's no more room on their plate. They don't want to grab a second one, so they'll pile more stuff on top of it, but it's not the same food. Like, I get it if you get like maybe a thing of crab legs, I'll stack a whole plate high. But if you have pizza on the bottom tier and you have biscuits on the mid tier and the
Hey, you
second
got some
tier
rice
above,
on top.
it's like, what are we talking about here? I
It
remember
all gets mixed together when you eat it. You know, it's going to
that
come out
that's what
together.
my fucking dad said. And I was like, no, 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 no. You just go get another plate or go get up and go back to it. You don't know how much you need. Half the people leave there and they have to unbutton their pants because what happens is there's a prime time of consumption when you're eating food. If as much as you put on your plate, your mind just has this task at hand that it wants to finish it. This is like what trick I use for fasting. So when I'm doing like a bunch of cardio, I'll eat like they used to sell these bags of gelatin bites. They were little like square cubes in like a big bag. It's 45
Okay.
calories because it's jello. That's all it is. It's nothing like it's so the whole bag's 45 calories. You could eat the whole bag and then you would be full. It didn't matter about the number of you. I would burn 2,000 calories and only consume 45 because that bag was 45 and it had 9 grams of protein in it. But
Oh, there you go.
you would end up have to do something else because if you just sit around, you end up getting hungry. But it's like the same thing with being bored. When you sit around, you don't have anything to do. You just want to eat
To
because you just
eat.
like, yeah. So it's the same thing with whatever you put on your plate. If you put a small little bit on your plate, eat it, and then wait a little bit, you get full. You don't feel like you need it anymore. But you put a giant plate in front of you, you're gonna want to finish the whole thing. And I don't think you should be mixing freaking Kentucky Fried Chicken with pizza, with egg rolls, with everything from every single delicacy from like Italy. Oh, we're going Italian tonight. No, you're not. You're going to the other side of the buffet by the koi fish tank where there's 4 dead koi fish, and you're getting more food.
Well, see, I think that's the whole thing with a buffet anyway. The buffet's whole purpose is you can eat whatever the fuck that's up there. You know what I mean? Whether you eat it all or not. You know, like when I go to the buffet, I like to kind of get my plate, not stack it up, but have it with shit that if it does mix together, it'll mix together right. You know what I mean? Like if I go up there and get soul food, that's what I'm gonna have. My whole plate's gonna be all soul food. If I go up there and get some Asian food, that's what's gonna be full with, the rice and all that shit. You know what I mean? Like I try to keep the category together.
I'm not ruining soul food to have Asian food. It's
That's what
one
I'm
or the
saying.
other.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I want to keep the plate
It's not just the plate though.
in its realm.
That whole meat ticket that I just paid for $15 for an all you can eat buffet. There's only one style of food that I'm going to be eating that whole entire time. I'm not going and doing a second plate
Oh,
of
so you're
another
not gonna
cuisine.
switch it up. You're not gonna
No,
try this and then go over here and try that. You're just gonna stick
no,
to the one thing then.
no, because if it all goes into the same place, even if you put it on a different plate, it's still going to be in your stomach in the same. So it's like one plate in your stomach.
Now, see, I don't do that with the main meal and desserts. Like certain desserts just don't go with certain shit. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna eat fucking like sushi and then go fucking get a ice cream cone or cotton candy. You know what I mean? Like I'll get some the sugar donuts, the Chinese sugar donuts, you know what I mean, if they have those. But that's how I am with desserts. Like as far as food, because like I said, I was told the same thing that your people's told you. Like it's going in and coming out the same, it's coming out together. So it's okay to put it together.
I would only go to a buffet to get California rolls because I can get a plates. I think my total was like 160 something in one sitting before. And afterwards I felt like garbage. But I can eat like California rolls and just not stop. Same thing with crab legs. And not even crab
Oh
legs,
yeah.
crabs. I ate a whole bushel by myself. And everyone's like, "Are you done yet?" I'm like, "No. This I will be
The
here
thing
all
with
day."
crabs though, the thing with crabs is that it slows you down to eat because you got
Like
to
a
go
crab.
through and pick through them.
Like a crab.
Yeah,
That's what it's supposed
yeah,
to do. It's supposed to slow
that's
you down. You'll
exactly
start
it.
walking sideways and shit.
It's the same thing, the same principle as like when you do your fasting. You with the crab, you got to take your time. You got to uncrack it. And plus, when you're eating crabs, it's more of a social event kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You usually sitting there picking it with a bunch of friends, got some beer, you laughing, joking around, and
It's
it
funny.
takes time.
Yeah, it's funny because if you're not from Maryland, you wouldn't know that. Like people wonder, like, why do they Maryland love crabs so much? I'm like, it's more about the event. Like you have to literally
Yeah.
physically sit. Usually it's dumped in Old Bay, so your hands are covered in Old
Uh-huh.
Bay. You can't touch your
Yep.
phone, even if your phone's going off, because
Not at all.
you're invited. It's like in my show. The main thing I pulled from like a crab feast was that, and Ryan Sickler, actually, the guy from Baltimore I was telling you about, he has a podcast, which is one of my favorites. I recommend to anybody out there listening. It's called The Crab Feast. And it's all these famous
Okay.
people. They tell horrible stories and stuff. But that's like the whole thing is like sitting down, no phones in the room, and you just have this chat, and it's more intimate. You get to, and time goes by quick too. I mean, you're eating a crab
It
feast. You can,
does, man, and you don't realize that.
yeah. And I think that's like important because I mean, how many people can like you can eat anywhere? Someone's on their phone waiting for
Hmm.
their meal. They'll still have a conversation. They tried to put crayons and stuff in there for you to be able to draw on the
For the
table.
kids.
Yeah, no, for the adults. For the
Oh,
adults,
word.
they would let the adults draw on the table. You know, you get your like your cousin Jim or something draws a dick on the table. He's like, "Oh, look at that!" But it's to distract you from being on your device and more intimate with the people around you. But then everyone,
Yeah.
our attention spans at this point, like you have to be on your phone. Like I've been taking large breaks off social media, has cost me a couple of guests only because they're like, oh, like you're not getting back to me in a reasonable time. I'm like, I check it once a day. I can't,
Hmm.
because you're on it too much. The next thing you know, it becomes your whole life. And I don't think you
Yep.
necessarily need that.
I had to step back from it too for a little bit because I was getting consumed with it just because I was just, it got cold, it got boring, you know what I mean? I didn't have my books here, so I finally got some books coming in so I can start, pick up my reading again
Oh,
and all that stuff.
a
But
fucking book. What the hell's wrong with you?
oh man, I love reading, man.
I see a
I'm an avid reader.
I see a book and I just picture like what happens to Lucifer when he walks in a church where he starts burning. He's like, oh, Jesus.
No, man, I'm an avid reader, bro. I love reading. It's something that my mom, I guess, it really did come from my mom because
I fucking
it was a
hope.
funny
I
story.
fucking hope.
Well, no, cause see, my dad. Here's the crazy part. Cause my dad, it was a little bit of him, his attitude towards it, and then my mom was always reading every time. Anytime we was anywhere, her and her sisters would go do this. Every like 4 months, they get their books, the old books they had, and they all go together. They make a trip out of it, go to some place, turn their old books in, and then come back with bags and bags of books. Then they read these books. 4 months later, they go do the same trip again. You know what I mean? That was their thing that they did. And one day I asked her to grab me up a book, I think it was, and I got a book and I had it with me. And my dad happened to pop up and he goes, what you doing? I said, well, I'm reading. And he just started laughing, yo. I'm like, the fuck's so funny about me reading a fucking book? Like, that's some bullshit. Fuck you. I'm gonna show you something because you sound ignorant when you talk. I want to know the things that I'm talking about make sense. You know what I mean? Like I'd ask him questions and he would give me some answer, and then I find out that the answer he gave me was some bullshit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I like being informed with stuff. You know what I mean? So, and then I like passing that shit on down because my kids love reading. My son bought his first book a few months ago on the immune system,
Oh, yeah,
and
you told me about
he was
that.
just yeah, he was just running down stuff to me. Dad, this. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I always like find something that you're interested in. Like I like self help books and stuff to get out your mind and African history and all this stuff. To learn just different things. I like learning as much as possible. Is my thing. As long as I figure as long as I'm alive, I need to be learning something. You know what I mean? Because schools don't teach you shit. You know what I mean? So it's like I want to absorb what I want to absorb.
That's a big issue. It's kind of like my issue with the internet as well too. Um, Schools don't teach you the things. I think they teach you a lot, but I think they don't teach you necessarily. They don't get kids interested in the craft, and it's hard to make a teacher go out of the
Yes.
way to make like
Hmm.
teachers. After you're teaching for 10 years, you're having new students. You have to teach the same shit, and you're trying to find a way to make it fun. Eventually, you're just like, fuck it, I don't care to learn or not. And then you just like they put their head down and put on a movie or something like that. But the internet was sales pitched as like a library of information.
Hmm.
But at no point did the librarian tell you you could not look into this. And the internet tells
Yeah.
you cannot look into this. So it's like it's different. It's switched. Like when you go to a library, I'm going like that's the thing. for me to read, I have to be in a spot where that's designated for reading. Like trying to read in my room, I couldn't do it. I just
Word.
can't. I have to listen to something or I have to be doing like 5 things at once. But I'm in a library. I'm like, oh shit. Let me get my fucking black rim glasses out. Let me get my shit going. I do have black rim glasses, by the way. I didn't know if you knew that. But I will go and find a book, and like I was really interested in working out, so I started learning about more about nutrition, started picking up books on the skeletal, muscular system, nervous system, all these types of things. Then I started diving down the psychology rabbit hole and started reading a bunch of independent peer. Now I spend a lot of my free time in my studio if I'm not doing a podcast, and I'll be writing, like I'm writing a book. I'm also writing
Oh
raps.
hell, get it in.
I'm also on academia's website, all these different things, looking at different peer reviewed papers that people have written about flat earth, whatever. And I'm trying to find these people and then have them on the show to talk about this because I have questions to ask.
If you have a chance to holler at a flat earther, I know a perfect dude. His name is Flat Earth Dave.
No, no,
We
no. I
interviewed him
said him no.
before.
I said him no. He gives you time slots. He gives you time
Oh, really?
slots and then he lets you control the Zoom call.
Huh? Yeah,
In case
yeah,
it
yeah.
goes
Because we
bad
did.
and you prove him wrong, he cannot give you the recording and not post it. That's the thing I found out because I was like, how is every,
Ah,
but there's a large group of followers that follow him.
it is.
And
It is. He
that one
has a
video of
massive
yours,
followers.
but that one video of yours will be like 8,000, 9,000 views. And then all your other views are like back to the normal range that they were before. And I started noticing that I was like, oh, I don't want someone to be in control of my show. The whole point is that this is a double tango thing. We're just having fun. We're both driving the car
Yeah.
basically, but one person in control. And if you do get them to slip, I have my flat earth buddy on who's not flat earth Dave, but his name's
Yeah.
Jason. We get into like 3 hour chats about it sometimes. I mean, I don't know. That's flat earth to me is just like one I'm like, I'm like right now what I'm interested in is like the JFK stuff or the Holocaust deniers.
Gotcha. 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 I didn't know there was Holocaust deniers.
I mean, I get
I did not know that.
there's 3 sides to it. I've explained this on the show already. There's in the Holocaust denying realm, there's people that like don't believe it happened at all, which is just insane.
Yeah.
But then there's people that believe that there's other workings with it. Like it wasn't just this, it was like a ploy of something like that. That's kind of believable in a sense. Then the third one is like probably the most likely. And that's the fact that there probably wasn't that many that were killed. Now, here's where I gotta clarify. It's 6 million exactly. Come on, they rounded that fucking number up. So
Yeah.
that's
You got, yeah.
that's where I get it. But then the issue becomes there are some people like, oh, it was only 20,000 people. I'm like, no, no, not at all. There was a lot
Nah.
more than that.
Yeah. See, but the thing with history is you just got to be open minded to and theories. You got to be open minded to some things like conspiracy theories. Like I get everybody's things and whatnot's going on. Like I'm open to all of it and have a discussion about it all because it's interesting to see how people think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I've said this on the show before too. You need to have conspiracy people in your group. I'm glad somebody's thinking about shit that I would never even possibly think of. It keeps you more options and avenues and perspective to understand. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think anybody thought that the government would start talking about alien shit. Like, really? Like, out of
Like, yeah,
anywhere.
finally they're bringing that shit out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, yo, we I remember being young, and that was another thing that really got me reading was those they had these newspapers, right? Like in Men in Black. You remember that like alien newspaper that fucking Will Smith and Jay or Will Smith and what's his name? Fuck, I can't remember the white
I
dude's
know. I'm
name.
fucking blanking on his name too.
Holy shit, he's famous as fuck.
I
He was
know.
in The Fugitive.
It'll come
What
to
the
us.
hell? Oh man,
Everybody
that's
knows both.
crazy.
Everybody knows
It's
Will
all
Smith.
good. But anyway, the
Tommy Lee
newspaper
Jones.
article. That's it. That's it. There you go.
I was trying to
But
think of it. I was like, it's a 3 letter name. It's like or a 3 word name. That's what it is.
but that newspaper they had, I remember seeing them in the when me and my mom would go grocery shopping, they'd have them up there with the tabloids, right? And she'd always give me these newspapers because I'm like, I was big into sci-fi, still am. Love my sci-fi shit, you know what I mean? So I remember always reading them all the time about aliens and this, that, and the other. And then my dad turned me on to Star Trek, you know what I mean? And we talk about Bigfoot and Loch Ness because back when I was younger, that was a big thing, finding Bigfoot, Loch Ness, and then seeing all these UFO sightings and whatnot. I remember one time Oh man, I never forget that night. Me, it was all of us, but Dad had us all out. I think we were coming back from it might have been Sterling, and we took this back road, and all of a sudden he just stops the car, and I'm like, "Yo, what's going on?" He's like, "Get out, look up at the sky," and we see this motherfucking shit doing this number right here, just moving around. There's light, and he was like, "The aliens right there." So me and my dad, I'm hyped. I'm like, "Oh shit, we're actually seeing some shit right now. This is cool." My sister's younger. She's flipping the fuck out. Mom's calling us stupid. That's not what's happening. Y'all are seeing shit because she's like, I don't see it. We're trying to point it out to her because I see the thing moving. He sees it moving. But that even made me more think like I know our universe is so big. You know, space is infinite. And to me, it's foolish not to think that there's not something else out
I
there. You
I
know what I'm saying?
I literally had the guy who that comet or that asteroid thing that was supposed to be from a lost civilization out in space. His name's Avi Loeb. He's a Harvard researcher. He's wrote many books on this. He was actually on Joe Rogan. He was on my show, and we talked about
Oh, hey, go ahead, brother.
this giant thing saying I think it was Oumuamua was the name of it. It's Hawaii for like intruder or spy or something. He said that
Mm-hmm.
the way that it was like going around our Earth and it was something that we've never seen before, like it's a different classification. I mean, I've been getting so into the UAP topic. I'm trying to get out of it now. I want to find stuff that I can actually look up, like have information for. But I mean, I don't think we're definitely not alone. There's more shit out there. It's just about it. Have they been here or are we just getting trashed? Like his explanation was like, we're like if you throw a water bottle outside of your car window or something like that while you're driving,
Yeah.
he goes, that's basically what this thing is. It's something from a lost civilization, but it's not a message to us. It's just something that happened to be probably a piece that we caught that probably shouldn't have ever had. It was a rare chance. What's more interesting is the multiverse. That's fucking
What?
real.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
shit's real. I'm like, dude, I want to fucking like, would you want to talk to yourself? Like, cloning is probably going to be first. I talked to
I
Avi
would
about
want to
this.
now see. Here's a crazy thing. Which version of yourself, if you could talk to a version of yourself, which one would you want to talk to?
That's the thing is that you don't know how many versions there are.
Exactly.
So
So if you
it's not
could
just a
pick
younger
one,
you, it's not even a past you, it's not even a future you, it's not even you now. It could be a you that has six eyes and four dicks.
yeah, yeah, that's a bad motherfucker right there.
Yeah, he's slinging everywhere. Um,
You know,
I would like to talk to like if there was like a billionaire me, be like, how'd you do it? Well, I invested in a thing called what they call a hot pocket. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you got $1 billion off of a hot pocket? Because I created it. I'm like, oh, what world? Oh, I want to go to
yeah.
that one.
Have you ever seen Jet Li's movie The One?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, this is like a perfect multiverse movie, right? It's about his he has a version of him that's a convict on one planet. Like it's a planet just all of convicts. It's where they go to jail and shit, right? He breaks free and he finds out that if he goes to these different universes and kills the version of himself, he becomes stronger and faster and all like his abilities just increase. So he's been going through all the universes and just killing himself in all of them, and he's down to one last version of himself, and they get to fighting, and it's tight as shit because he's basically fighting himself to be the strongest motherfucker alive ever. You know what I mean? And it's a strange concept because there was like a version of him who's just a skater. He's just skating around, just a kid, happy-go-lucky guy, like eating pizza on a Tuesday type shit. And then there's a one version where he's a lawyer. There's another version where this dude is just homeless as fuck. And I'm like, man, I wonder how many different versions of me are really out there? You know?
Can you imagine when they say that you're basically killing yourself whenever you do something like smoking a cigarette or eating fast food or something? It's really like the way that you die. It's like, how is he killing himself if he was hit by a car? That's how he was killed. It's really, they're talking about like there's a version of you that runs you over
Yeah.
and then goes
Yeah.
back to their verse, like that's intense. Or like changes their
Yeah.
face and that person's the one that gets arrested. That's how you get into schizophrenia right there, where you start thinking like everybody in jail that killed somebody was a version of yourself and they're using a fake face and then it's imposter syndrome times like 1,000.
I'm telling you, check out the one, man. It's a good flick, especially if you like kung fu flicks and shit like that. And it fits in the multiverse realm.
It's hard for me to watch anything now. I don't think I've turned my TV on in probably 4 months.
I just recently here started watching TV again, and it's just because where I'm at right now. And we've been excuse me. I don't even know how we got on this kick. I think Scream came on TV.
Hmm.
So all of us here, we just started watching Scream, right? So we're like, yo, let's just watch all of them and see what they're working with, and we'll figure out a day to go to the movie to catch Scream 5, right? Here's what I learned about Scream is that Dewey gets his ass handed to him all the fucking time. The cop, the little sheriff dude in there, the deputy, the man can take a fucking punch. I don't know how the fuck he survived all these fucking movies just to get knocked the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? The women have lost their strength from the first one to shit. See, last night I think we saw the fourth one. The third one was overacting, but all of them were directed by Wes Craven. I think Wes Craven after the first one, I think he just switched up and just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna just flood y'all with some ignorant shit." Because the third one and fourth one, they start doing like little comedy things in them now. You know what I mean? I'm like, huh? I never paid attention to that because I only seen the first two when I was younger. After that, I didn't give this shit no more about them. And then
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I didn't
Oh,
mean to cut you off.
oh no, so I was like, you know what? It's interesting to look. I'm like, yo, let's just watch them and see what they look like. And we're sitting down there just judging these movies, just having a ball, fucking just cracking up at some shit that's going on. Like, wow, you can't be that stupid in this fucking movie. Like you're deliberately showing how dumb a motherfucker is. You know what I'm saying? Like you got the overacting of the women screaming at the most dumbest shit where they in the first one, they weren't screaming like they were in the third one. They was trying to wreck shop. They was trying to fuck, what's his name? Ghostface up. You know what I'm saying? And the third one, they're more like, oh my God, he's coming out. We gotta run. Ah, bitch, I fell. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for sure.
Like, nah.
Um, when I was making the film, I watched a lot of like how like I was trying to make fun of all the iconic movie stuff. I don't. Did you saw the film, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw parts. I didn't get all the way through, but I got through half of it.
Well, because I'm making a second one, but the second one's more of a solo project. Like you have a cameo, and it's your voice when I pick up that. Did you see, you saw the
That seashell,
conch?
the
Yeah,
conch shell.
yeah. So it's a bunch of funny skits like that that keep referencing back to other prior bits. Like I had a bit in my show where I talked about a fire alarm like going off, and I'm walking around my house looking for a fucking fire
Yo, I
alarm.
saw that one.
Yeah, so that's a I made it into a skit and then I put it in the film. So I don't know if I'm gonna end up publishing it. Just depends on how much I got. Honestly, I'm not worried about pressing a date for it.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing what if I think of an idea and I'm bored, I'll record it and then put it up on there. Um, but I started noticing like acting's not super difficult depending on like what movies we're mentioning. Like I mean, it's an overall template in filmmaking. There's usually common
Mm-hmm.
shots and angles. It's just about having an eye for like photography in a sense. But I think that's why people love M. Night Shyamalan movies so much is because there's always a different storyline where it's like, oh shit, I never expected that. But usually it's the same killer versus a person, and again, it's usually a slumber party or some shit like that. But nobody understands the amount of like damage that these people who are stuntmen go through. Like that's what's crazy is
Oh
that.
yeah.
So one of my favorite films that by the time this comes out, it'll already be out. The new Jackass. I don't know.
Those cats, man, they
Yeah,
nuts.
I don't know if you've ever heard, like, I've watched every single Johnny Knoxville like interview because I'm just a fan of his since I was a kid, back watching Viva La Bam and watching Jackass when they were originally on TV and Wild Boys and all that. Um, he was talking about like the worst injury I've ever had. Now, for me, I already know what his worst injury is before he even says
Yeah.
it. It's the time on one of his jumps, the bike went up, and as it went, I'll see if I can pull it up. But as this, he was doing a jump, and they were like, "Don't let go of the bike when you hit the jump. If you flip off, do not let go of it. Just hang on to it, because then if you kick it off of you, the bike's gonna
It's gonna
fall."
come back.
It hit him right in the dick. I mean, straight up
Mm.
fell from like 100, not even 100 feet, probably like 80 feet, and fucking hit him right in the crotch. He gets up and he's like, I'm fine, I'm fine. He's walking, he's walking. Dude, he was bleeding out of his crotch. He broke his whole
Mm.
urethra,
Nah.
or he broke the whole like
Uh,
everything down there.
uh,
And he had
no,
to have
no.
a catheter in his crotch to use twice a day because he couldn't go normally for like the longest time. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and then, but the one he mentioned that was his worst injury was that he did something in a stunt or something where he hit his eye and broke his like eye socket or something, and his eye popped
Mm-hmm.
out. So instead of going to the doctor, what he did was he pushed it in, and I guess something else happened, and then it really bulged out, and they had to take him to the hospital. But the doctor forgot.
Got infected.
Well, no, the doctor told him, they were like, do not sneeze. Like, don't.
Oh yeah, it's gonna blow it out.
The whole month that you have this, don't sneeze. He's like, a whole month? I can't predict where I'm going to sneeze. And then
Yeah.
he played a joke on one of his friends, and he did one of those, those laughs where you kind of hold your nose, go like that, and it thing
Yeah.
popped right out. Dude, that shit got me. I was like, I never even knew that.
But see, that whole jackass shit, I never could get into it because I'm like, all these motherfuckers is doing is just shooting this shit. They're shooting rockets in their asshole and kicking each other in the nuts. Like, how much abuse can your body take? You know what I mean? Like, before you're like, all right, fuck it, pushing each other around in shopping carts and shit and tipping them out and whatnot.
Well, I mean, it sparked up when they first started. It sparked up so many rise of like people that were just doing it,
Yeah.
just making videos. I remember when I was a kid when this happened. I remember, all right, so the article I'm about to pull up, it says Johnny Knoxville, how I broke my penis. So I remember being like 10 years old, 11 years old, and my grandma, I would go to my grandparents' house, but my grandma would pick us up from our state, and then we'd drive 45 minutes. It felt like fucking years in that car, but I would always stare out the window. And on one of the nights she was driving us back to our house to go to school the next day, I remember on the radio, one of the radio guys was like, this song's to Johnny Knoxville, who's about to undergo surgery because he broke his crotch. And they played AC/DC Big Balls. And so I'm gonna pull this up real quick. So there's Johnny Knoxville. And this is like what this article was 2017. So this came out way later then. I guess he must have did another interview, because this happened to be probably 2008 or something when I heard about this. He said, I knew it was going to end up about
in 2007.
Yeah, he said, I knew it was going to end up about my penis, Johnny Knoxville grins. And he said, in credulo, I don't even know that word, so we're going to skip over it. That's how I get rid of my problems. As we sit alone inside a Harley Davidson showroom on a hot summer day, surrounded by dozens of chromed out Easy Riders, the ultimate symbols of the 1970 era American muscle, machismo. I have a big scar running here to here, he says, innocuously pointing an index finger between his legs and up to his crotch, where he famously tore his urethra in 2007 while paying tribute to stunt god Evel Knievel. I never even thought to look down at the scar until 6 weeks ago. I found a stand-up mirror, got out of the shower, and checked the scar. He paused, and that is a terrible angle to look at yourself in. Yeah, because he was on a bike. I wonder if they have. Oh my God, they have. We got to watch the clip, dude.
The video. Oh no.
Hold on.
No.
I gotta share it.
They actually had a video.
I'm gonna share it with sound. I didn't hit share with sound. I didn't think there was gonna be a video. This is going to be great. Let's see how he did it. Oh, it's a 4-minute clip. I have to fast forward to where it
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to backflip this son bitch, but I'm gonna try.
He was gonna try to backflip it.
Hang on harder than you ever hung on. Like, even when you're stroking it, hold on to it 3 times harder than that.
I kind of have a loose grip, Mike.
Yeah, you gotta have a tight grip for this one.
Oh yeah?
Here's the ramp. Just go that way real fast.
I'm gonna quit being a little bitch about it.
Is the guy talking to in a wheelchair?
No, he's a short person.
Oh shit, he's a midget.
Never, ever let off the gas. All the way up, you're going to be in the air for quite a long time. So don't do anything rash. You lean back, you stay with it, you hold on to the bike, It's going to feel like a long time. It will come all the way around. If for some reason it's not or whatnot, you have plenty of time to ditch it. Whatever you do, do not ditch the bike right away. Because if you go like this and ditch the bike, then it goes 40 feet in the air and lands on you.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and I'm about to backflip this bike.
This started out as fun, and then hold on, I'm gonna skip to the part because YouTube will flag it and be like, "You can't use this song. That's $80,000." I'm like, I don't have that. All right, here we go. And land on it. Oh, it's just... You know that that towards urethra.
That did.
Oh my God.
That busted that shit open.
Oh God. I don't know if you've ever had an injury like that before. I remember hopping on a bike one time.
Fuck no.
When I was camping a long time ago, when I was like probably like 14 or something like that. I remember there was on my bike seat. I went to go sit on my bike seat, and the way that they put the seats in, like without the cushion, it's nails going into the cushion to lock it in. And I mean, I thought I ripped it. I scratched my sack and it was bleeding. And I was losing my fucking mind. I was like, oh my God, I went to the bathroom. I was like, nothing's like, there's no ball on my leg or anything like that. So I'm fucking good. But I'm like, I'm bleeding. And I remember like freaking out. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So I told my dad, I was like, we need to go to the hospital. He's like, what? And he's like, I'm bleeding. I was like, I'm bleeding. He's like, what, from where? I was like, my crotch. He goes, is anything torn? I'm like, no. He's like, you're good. You probably just scraped it. I was like, okay. Fucking A, dude. I was like, this is because that was the biggest fear, like for when I was a kid, was that if you get hit hard enough, you're gonna, because
your shit gonna bust open.
But you don't remember the era of everyone sack tapping each other when the world was okay. All you had to do was worry about your fucked up friend that would hit you in the balls at a random time. It was constant.
The man check.
Yeah. Now everyone's worried about nukes. No wonder every kid's fucked up.
Or fuck, even school shooters and shit. Because I remember my daughter came home one day and she was telling me about I can't even think the name of the drill that they do now, like active shooter drill, I think is what it is. And I'm like, do what? She's like, yeah, we got to go in here, we got to bunker down, we got to do this. I'm like, the only drill we had when I was in school was a motherfucking fire drill. You know, you had to go out, single file outside and get your name called and you go back and finish up the fuck class. But that's the world we in now, you know? But these jackass dudes, they're like what? At least in their 50s now, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Johnny Knoxville's hair has gone all completely white.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you know, these motherfuckers are too old to be doing they got a new movie, right, coming out?
Yeah, well, I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll be out already. It comes out February 4th.
Yeah, so fucking these motherfuckers is way too old to be shooting rockets in their ass again. You know, because they ain't gonna heal the same like they used to. It's gonna take a lot longer to heal from any kind of wounds or anything they're shoving up their ass or hitting in the nuts by now. Like, and honestly, I don't even think half their dicks work anymore. Like, is Steve-O gonna be in it too?
I was trying to look up this study because I heard one of like my favorite comedians as well too. I have a bunch of favorite comedians. It's like I don't really look to them as like mystical wisdom, but they do sometimes like throw something out there. I'm like, I gotta look that up. That fucking sounds interesting. And he's a gay guy, and he was talking about, he goes, it's so hard to have like, you know, sex. And they're like, what do you mean? What's so wrong? He goes, well, my body type's a certain body type, and you kind of have to either have issues with like being molested to be able to enjoy it. And it was a joke that he said that.
Yeah.
But he was talking about, he goes, but none of these kids that he's like having sex with can get a hard on. And they go, well, why do you think that is? And he goes, it's the amount of anxiety drugs that kids are taking now and depression medicine at such a young age that it's affecting their sex drive. And it's true. Yeah. I looked up the statistic for it. There's plenty of like actual studies about this and research studies that are talking about a factor of all these drugs, anxiety medication, depression medication that they're getting put on at such a young age, like ADHD. Mm-hmm. I have it. I don't take medicine for it. Don't fucking put like it. They can grow out of it. They can learn to control it. They get used to it. It was difficult as hell for me in school. And maybe it's not the case for everybody, but if you have a kid that says they're feeling sad, don't throw a fucking pill at them. Because next thing you know, they're 20 something or 30 something years old and their dick won't fucking work.
And that, yeah. Like, I actually knew this shorty, and she was talking to me about a guy she was dating. And she was like, yo, he has ED. I'm like, well, how old is he? Because I mean, she's fairly young. And she's like, he's only 23. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. A 23-year-old with that problem already? Like, I don't understand that. And then that's what she told me he was on, you know, like ADHD medicine and shit. Like, I'm like, it could be those meds that caused that problem to happen. You know what I mean?
I mean, most of those drugs have serious side effects.
Oh yeah. But you know, the big pharma is quick to fucking push some shit out. Like, I always told people, like, big pharma is the biggest drug dealers out there. Fuck the cartel, fuck all them. they ain't got shit on Big Pharma at all. They ain't touching the money and shit that Big Pharma's got. You know what I mean? Granted,
it's funny how that narrative flipped. Today, everybody's like, I want to get that booster that they got out there. I'm like, you remember when we all used to say that pharma's only cared about your fucking money? When did that switch?
Yep.
Like somehow we got flipped.
It's that bait and switch. That's what happened. Was it was the fear that they put out enough fear to make people go, okay, I need to do this now. Then this is what I need to do. Like I was reading an article where it said, Pfizer last year.
Don't, please. YouTube will flag the shit out of it.
Oh, gotcha.
If I pulled up the list to you right now, it's a whole long list. You can't talk about dosages. You can't talk about what works better. You can't even shit on Johnson & Johnson, everyone's been shitting on him. I've seen Pfizer tweeting about Johnson & Johnson, like Arby's tweeting at Wendy's. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't want this from my pharmaceutical companies. I want the people that make the no cry baby shampoo. Yeah, but they'll get anything. But you know, with most of these like big dick pills or whatever that people take, you know what you don't have an issue with? Viagra. Shout out to Viagra, our sponsor, with a special coupon code out of the blank
your heart open.
Don't say that. They're my sponsor. I told you we had ad reads I had to do. I told you in the beginning of the show. That's one of our sponsors.
Oh man,
I'm serious. I'm serious. Really? That's one of our sponsors.
Shut up.
I got a couple down here too. Have you ever been in such pain or such fear where you just feel like you have to go to the bathroom, like right now, like it's going to come out, and you have maybe a speech that you're going to, maybe you have a speech or you have some big event and you're very, very nervous. You know what? You can't take a pink fucking paste liquid that will literally taste like chalk, but you won't shit. And that's Pepto-Bismol. Shout out to our next sponsor as well too.
Good old Pepto. You know what? I remember when Pepto actually tasted decent when I was a kid. For some odd reason, Pepto-Bismol actually tasted good when I was a young kid. I think they changed the ingredients, or as I got older, it fucking I actually now know the taste sucks.
Well, I was because someone asked me, they're like, how come like you're like, because I put up a Patreon for people to just donate what they want to help support the show. Like if you all I said was donate what you think the show's worth. If you think it's worth $5, toss out $5. You think it's $10, toss out $10. And it's monthly, so whatever you want to feel like paying a month, because it helps me out. I mean, if I can, I basically do it like a job in a sense, but it makes it more like, oh, okay, at least people actually like want to help out and, you know, support whatever. But the thing was, people are like, why don't you just do ads? And I was like, because I don't like when I'm listening to a show and I hear an ad read, because the ad read is always like before, middle, and it's always like, you got to buy this with this and this and this. I was like, can I do it my way? Like, if I'm going to sell Viagra, I'm like, you know what gets your dick hard? You know what's better than a nice pair of tits? Viagra. And then I fucking throw it out there. Now I'm joking in a sense, and probably a bunch of people just got really upset, but at the same time, it's still getting the name out there. It's still getting the idea out there. So people are like, oh yeah, remember
you
Viagra.
Just worded it in a different way.
Well, it lets them listen to the ad, because half the time people want to skip through that shit. Whenever I click on Joe Rogan, and like, it's always a minute into a show, you hear 15 ads, one for Buffalo Trace and then a bunch of other like barbecue things. I just grab the slider, skip it all the way over until it's all over with, and then back to the show. I don't know what ads they are anymore. And then you just
That's how it is with Earn Your Leisure podcast. When I'm listening to them, it's like it's always the first 7 to 9 minutes of the show. It's all ads. And then they get to the show, and then they'll get to like a good part of the show when they're about to drop some knowledge on you, and then all of a sudden it cuts off, and it's a fucking another 5 minutes of fucking ads before it gets back. Then I forgot what the fuck they was talking about. You know what I mean?
And I was trying to think why advertisement companies wouldn't want you still selling their product or being their sponsor, even though if you're shitting on it, because I was like, you don't get a personal attack to you. Like if you're a cell phone business person and you built your own business and it's just your like one location, and you go, I'm gonna get this person to be like, I'm gonna be their sponsor. If they shit on you, you get upset because that's your work. But if you're a giant billion-dollar company, you don't even that doesn't even pop up a blip on your radar. You don't lose any ounce of sleep over that. So I was like, might as well let the product name still get out there. Just let people shit on it if they want.
Yeah. But you know,
like
YouTube
V8
is funny.
V8. What the fuck is that? Tomato juice? Like, You might as
That's
well
basically
just
a Bloody Mary in a jar.
yeah. It's like you might as
All
well
you gotta
just
do is
admit you have.
add.
You might as well just admit you have an alcohol problem and go drink a Bloody Mary.
That's it. That's because that's when I found out what a V8 was. I'm like, well, isn't that a Bloody Mary? That's the same thing, right? But they can't sell it as Bloody Mary. They gotta say it's V8.
Well, it's now what you put in Bloody Mary to make it easier so you don't have to put all the other ingredients in there. Like recipe books. Remember when those were actually used for something? Now they're like people use them as decorations. I got one for Christmas. That was from my favorite like game that I used to play all the time. And I was like, the old game I used to play is Skyrim, which is like an all medieval game. And everything in there besides like one section is all meat. I'm like, I can only eat like fish and light stuff. I don't really like eating meat. It hurts my stomach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so this whole book's just useless, but it's nice to look at. I have it on my bookshelf. So I'm like, that's all recipe books are good for. There used to be a day where there was no internet. There was no TV. You had to grab the recipe book and be like, what do I feel like fucking making so I don't go put a gun in my mouth and blow my fucking brains out? Like, because you're
Either
bored
it was
all
a
the
recipe
time.
book or was something passed down from a relative or a family member or somebody that you just happen to know how to cook it. Other than that, you ain't know shit.
And pages that were like torn out of it and shit. I remember looking through my grandmom's recipe book and I was like looking through, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, it's like 2 pieces of white bread with tuna, and then you put like some type of like grits on top of it. And it was like a common no, it was clam chowder stuff. It was chowder meat or something like that. Some type of like I don't know if it was condensed milk or something. I was like, but the picture looked like like what the fuck? Like it must have been horrible living back then. But you know,
fucking go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm about to say, but you know, like I mean, some of the pages were torn out. I remember asking, like, "What's this?" Like, "Oh, we don't do that. That I don't do anything with cinnamon." So I just ripped anything that was cinnamon out of the book, and I'm like, you know, like when this gets passed down to my grandkids or something, they're gonna be like, "Why the hell is there no cinnamon shit in here?"
Certain questions got to be answered. Or like my ex had her great grandmother's recipe box. Like, you know, they had a box that had like it was almost like a what the fuck were they called? The rotors, rotundas, whatever, where they had business cards, you know, business people
Oh,
pull
the
out the
rotary,
cards.
the rotary.
Yeah, one of the rotary things. It was like that. It had cards in this box. And I was curious. I wanted to see what fucking her great grandmother was fixing back in the day. And I pulled one of these cards out, and it was snapping turtle soup. And I'm like, whew, they fucking ate snapping turtle. Like, damn. They pull out another one, and it was like polecat stew. And I was like, wait a minute, polecat? That's a skunk. Like, I know what polecat is. I know that term. You know, they ate fucking skunk stew. Like, yeah, that's some rough living back then. You know, when you think about it, they had some real rough living.
Well,
And then you couldn't read her handwriting anyway. You know, like her handwriting was horrible. But I'm like, even if you wanted to make one of these recipes, you couldn't because you couldn't read the shit.
well, it wasn't so normal to them, like the trucker that's brushing his teeth in a bathroom. Like that's part of their life.
Yeah,
Like, what are we doing now that's going to seem so like weird in the future? That's what's crazy.
TikTok videos.
Nah, I think TikTok will be like a more popular trend. It'll be limited instead of like now you can have like longer TikToks. Like I watched one for like 4 minutes. I was like, is this a fucking TikTok still? I thought it was short videos. No, they're like, we're gonna do long videos too, because we know, you know, you're shouting in the middle of a mall. It's a lot of work. So we need to get it longer so we can enjoy the content more. But I'm like, I think that's just going to get even worse. See, the thing I don't like about TikTok, I have a couple videos on there, but they're not me doing anything. And I know a lot of people said my movie scenes could be TikToks because they're that short. And I was like, well, no, I don't really want to use TikTok because I don't agree with the whole like data thing that goes with it. It's like linked to China and shit. Even though we have servers over here now, it's a whole deal. But I think that is just going to evolve quicker because the thing about TikToks is it's a quick laugh. And I feel like a lot of people feel like they need a quick laugh. Like I bet you if you look up best ofs, that's probably top trending on YouTube all the time. Best of this, best of that, because people want to hear the best bits, the funniest parts without all the setup that goes with it.
Yeah, I can understand that right there. Trying to think what could be looked as odd in the future that we do now.
Walking,
probably wearing a mask.
No, that could still
that
be
might be a norm though.
That's still a thing. That's the crazy thing, is that there's some locations in Maryland that you have to have one on. So you're walking into a store and a person just runs up and fucking bolt tackles you. And you're like, what the fuck? And they're like, you have to wear your mask. I'm like, everywhere else isn't, but here it is. And it's like, well, put a sign on your fucking door so I fucking don't get 3 ribs broken by some dude that feels like he needs to go above and beyond for his minimum wage job.
I got one then that's going to sound strange. Then blowing out a birthday cake candle. You can't put your breath on shit now.
Well, that's just that phased out long before COVID. I feel like there were points where like people like they do it like if they're older, but like kids don't want cake now. They want a boba tea or some type of fucking other expensive chai bowl from like an organic restaurant.
That's up north shit, because down here they still want some cake and cookies. You know what I mean? Cake and ice cream. It's actually pizza parties now is what it is.
Yeah, I mean I feel like that one was just like it was something that was taken away and then brought back because people weren't ready for it to go yet. Like Chuck E. Cheese was a staple for a lot of people. And I feel like that's where the pizza party really got popularized, which leads into like Chuck E. Cheese reusing other people's pizza, which is intense. Like did you hear about that?
Yeah.
They
and they sell beer, so you can forget about it.
Yeah, they would take pizza that someone already ordered, and then like if it was a cheese and you got another cheese coming up, they would take slices from that one and put it on the new one.
Just throw it all together.
Yeah, and like they would
still warm.
Yeah, make a monster pizza. I mean, come on, if you're going to
warm.
Even when I go to like a pizza shop or something, and I rarely get pizza, but if they have the pizza or the food hanging out in front of like the window and they grab a slice off that, I'm like, look, you know what you're getting into. If you get sick later that night, don't be fucking surprised.
Yeah, it's like gas station sushi. You don't want gas station sushi.
Oh my God, dude. I've had the worst experience with gas station sushi. I made the 7-Eleven in my town.
Hold on, you actually ate?
Yeah.
Gas station sushi? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I thought I've said this to you before, but I guess I haven't.
I know you said it before. I think it was like our first time we talked.
I made the 7-Eleven stop carrying it because every day I would come in and tell him I got sick from it and I would keep buying it. And he's like, well, stop buying it. And I'm like, no, because I want you to take this away from everybody because this is hurting me. And I want you to see the pain I'm in. I legit did that. That was like, oh my God. That was like when I was in senior year of high school. I was doing that.
Your own private protest right there.
I made a stand and he took it off.
That's all it takes, man.
Nothing
One
beats
person
those.
Can make a difference.
Nothing beats those gas station muffins, though. Those Spudberry or whatever they call them, the banana nuts, dude. I don't know what it is about a nice muffin top that just gets me.
The banana fucking nut muffin. That's a banging one right there, man. Or the cinnamon. It's like a cinnamon crumble top one. Oh,
you mean the apple crumble?
Is it apple crumble? I don't know what it is, but it's got some crumble shit on the top, man, that just sets it off.
Because I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a cinnamon one because I started to look at
it might be apple crumble.
I started to look at it more like they try and pick, like, especially when you're marketing or when you're creating a product, you try and like, you're not going to be like, I'm going to create a cinnamon drink. Well, that's going to be like an exclusive seasonal thing, only because how many people are allergic to cinnamon or don't like cinnamon? There's a lot more than you think. It's kind of like if you make a peanut butter thing, you got to understand, you got to know that people just want the peanut butter. Those are peanut butter fans you're targeting to. A person who has that allergy isn't going to want to fucking deal with it. Like I know people that their wife or their husband have a nut allergy, so they can't have that at all. And I'm like, why would you do that to yourself?
Then you got what is it? Gluten stuff, the gluten-free shit, because people are allergic to gluten.
Yeah, I think they just got adjusted to it. I think you could probably adjust back because I haven't had milk in forever. But if I drink a glass of milk, like I have to make protein shakes in my work. So if you make a little extra, you pour yourself some, have a little sip of it. I'm like, oh, this person got milk. And then I start feeling it. Like I start being like in my stomach feels like it's turning. And I'm like, I didn't make myself.
Are you lactose?
I'm lactose sensitive, but I never really was. When I was a kid, I would drink milk all the time, every single day. Because I remember my dad scared the shit out of me. He goes, your great grandma died from osteoporosis or whatever is like your bones. Your bones are hollow.
Bones, yeah.
She goes, she never drank a glass of milk. And she did die that way, and she never did drink a glass of milk. So I always remember to drink like gallons of milk. I would try my hardest to just shove it down, chocolate milk, whatever. I would always just destroy them. But then I stopped drinking it. And then I just, at work, if I have like a little sip of a protein shake with milk in it, my stomach gets all like turning. I'm like, oh, my body has now
bubble guts.
Well, my body adapted to not having it. And that's kind of like with anything. Like, I haven't had red meat in forever. When I hit 1,000 episodes, it was at the same time my birthday was. I freaking went to Outback.
Happy belated birthday.
Thanks, man. It's about a month past, but thank you. Don't worry about it at that point. But I went to Outback and I got a burger, and I was like, that's what I really wanted, was an Outback burger. And I ate it in 10 seconds, dude. This burger I just destroyed in 10 seconds. I swear to you, literally before anybody could even dig into their food, I destroyed mine. And I was like, oh, that really hit the spot. Dude, the next couple of days was the worst of my life. My stomach was like, what did you do to us? I don't know what to do with this. And we're just going to sit here and make you feel like you're going to vomit. And I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah, because after a while, not eating certain shit, like same thing happens to me when I eat red meat. If I eat, like, I have to really have my mind set and be in the mood for a burger. Other than that, I don't eat no red meat. I'm lactose intolerant, but I started drinking almond milk some years ago, like years back, because I was like, man, I got to find a way to get this calcium in me without having to take a supplement. You know what I'm saying? Because I learned that a lot of women, and this is the thing that takes back to your grandma about how she has osteoporosis or had osteoporosis, whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of women, I've learned, do not like milk. They just don't like it. That's why they don't drink it or consume it. You know what I mean? They just do not. A lot of women I've met in my life, and I've met a lot of them, a good, I want to say at least 89% of them do not like milk and do not consume it.
That had to be people that were born before the trend of almond milk. Because I think almond milk was like relatively new. Like when I was a teenager is when you started seeing almond milk in stores, or at least I started noticing it more. And like every person my age, that's all they want. Like, do you want regular milk or do you have almonds? It's like, what do you put in your coffee? They're like, I put a lot of creamer in it. Like I've seen people make their coffees. I know people that work at Starbucks. I'll be in there like talking to them. They're like, oh yeah, just caught your recent episode or something like that. I can't tell if they're being fucking serious. I usually just go, oh yeah, cool, and then move on to the next subject. Everyone, whenever they meet me outside, they always bring up the podcast. I'm like, I don't want to fucking talk about that show, dude. I really don't. Like it's I don't ever like talking about it on air either. But they're making coffees. They're dumping like half of the drink is milk and creamer. And I'm like, what are you?
Yeah.
That's not coffee, though. I mean, it is coffee. It's more of a milkshake.
At that point, you're just drinking the creamer.
Well, remember, they used to have jokes all the time making fun of people for getting a Starbucks drink that was mostly a milkshake. Like, why don't you just go to Chick-fil-A and get a like Java chips? When I was a senior and junior year in high school, I used to get Java chips like every fucking day. There was actually one weird time where I went into a Starbucks and I'm looking at like the Michael Jackson CDs and all that type of shit that's all lined up against the walls and shit. And I was like, who gets like food here? The food here is just desserts. And then I look over and a bunch of prep girls from like prep school came in wearing high skirts and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is what they meant by Catholic schoolgirls. Like that's what they in the song. My brain just makes that connection. And
it just clicked right there for you.
And I remember getting a Java chip. I would get it every day. And then I go, you know, I'm a fitness guy. I never really even know like what's in there, but it's really fucking good. And I always get a venti, always go large. And they're like, oh, well, the calories are up on the board. It's when they started implementing the calories on the board.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't a time where that was before. McDonald's did not do that to you ever.
Nope.
You got what you got. The world was simpler back then when people weren't just micromanaging shit like that. Like that's the worst thing I ever did when I started working out was checking that nutrition label. It has fucked me ever since. I can just reactionary. Everything I do, I grab and check calories. I'm like, why am I doing this? Not even protein content. I just look at the number and go, okay.
You just programmed yourself to do it.
But I remember I go, how many calories? And they go, well, it's up on the board now. And they point it up at the board. It's 1,000 calories in that fucking drink. And I was like, how are you making these? They're like, well, it's a quarter bag of chocolate chips. And I'm like, hang on a second. A quarter bag of chocolate chips in a venti Java chip. And they're like, oh, no, just in a Java chip in general. It doesn't matter on the size. Usually we add more if it's a bigger drink. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
So shit, if you got a small one, you get fucking pumped.
Well, I'm like, what the fuck is the point of getting this when I could just go to Chick-fil-A and get a milkshake? Because yeah, most of the coffee drinks we sell here, besides like the straight ones or anything like that, or anything that's really hot, it's more about like iced ones or more milkshakes. So like you can basically go get a milkshake and actually get less calories. And I was like, eventually society is going to adapt to this. And now look where we're at, where it's mostly an adaptation, where you're not making fun of those people for getting milkshakes like that. You're getting kids that are growing up always having that type of thing towards normal.
It's a normal thing. Yep. Slowly programming the masses.
Fucking nuts. Who would have thought that Starbucks and all these fast food places that say they love us and have Grimace on the front cover of their fucking ads and all that. I think that's
that's why they got rid of the mascots, man. Like you don't even see Ronald McDonald's ass fucking hopping around no more.
Because it's weird to have a clown and have like I never understood that with Santa Claus either. Like people go to a mall and let their kids sit on some old dude's lap.
Oh, some random dude's lap.
I don't give a fuck if he is the nicest guy and donates bone marrow. I don't care. I don't want him or my kid on his lap. So I'm going to make sure my kid never has that experience. I'll dress up as Santa if I have to.
Yeah, look, my kids know ain't no Santa. I'm Santa in the house. You know what I mean? Like, my girl was talking to me. She's like, you don't ever put gifts under the tree that say, from Santa. Fuck no. No. I am Santa. They gonna know I went out here. I got this. This came from Dad. Dad's the Santa in this motherfucker.
I noticed that when I was a kid. And there's a bunch of presents, and like my dad would put and my parents would put their names on the really expensive stuff that that they wanted to like get credit for. You know what I mean? And I would get like all the like the socks and all this type of stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I remember, I guess I just remember my dad was like kind of had it like it looked like he was nursing a hangover. He was kind of like this because my dad's a DJ, so he's getting shots all night basically, and he's fucking like in his chair like this. And I go, oh my God, Santa got me a Rock Band drum set. And my dad just fucking perked up real quick. Like, fuck, I put the sticker on the wrong fucking present.
On the wrong way.
And it was like that, like I looked over, I was like, that was weird. And then I just fucking like went back to like, oh, Santa did this. And then that's the thing I like, where I've been starting to have it. You know how I have like a deep burning desire to expose Mr. Rogers' dirty secrets. I feel like we've talked about this, haven't we?
Yeah. Okay. He's hiding
some. I started to notice like my turnaround with it a little bit is that the fact that when I talk to someone who does a religious studies and like talks about religion, he also studies Mr. Rogers. He was on here. His name's Art, very good guy. I was kind of like, pressing him a little bit with the religious. I like to press everybody, but in a fun way. But we were talking about Mr. Rogers. I was like, oh, let's talk about this. And he was like, well, the whole thing was the preservation of children because children are the future. That's when I started noticing like the really importance of holidays. Like this past Christmas we just had, I didn't want anything from anybody. I didn't ask anything from anybody. I got cards, which I keep in a shoebox because that's the most sentimental stuff to me, because I have cards from people who are no longer with us now. And I like to read those and I like to have those. It's something that's sentimental to me. But when my nephews came over, they're 3, almost 4. And then the other one's, I think he's like almost 2 years old or something like that. All about them. I don't even get any attention. Don't get me anything. Funnel everything into them. It's the most important thing, because seeing that, I understand why my parents sat through it and did that every single time and made it such a big event, because that was one of the most important moments for a child, where I was like, it doesn't matter to me, or not, it's not going to be for everybody, but for me, the other 300 and something days didn't fucking matter. But that day that you showed up and you were there for that, that's a very impactful moment for someone that makes or breaks it.
And see, that's what I told people before. Like Christmas is no longer about you. Once you have kids, that's when you see it. Yeah, it's like, all right, Christmas is more so for them. And then they end up getting to an age where they're like, you know what? It doesn't set the same. I remember my brother. It's funny that you say it, because my brother, we were shit. I want to say I was a teenager by then, or about to be a teenager. And he was, in his like 20s, early 20s, and he come to me, he goes, hey, bro, Christmas ain't like it used to be. I said, well, we're older, man. Like we didn't grew out of that certain stage. And now it's more so of the older, now that we're older and we're adults, that it's more of the gathering. And talking shit with each other and seeing the kids happy is more so is what it is now. You know what I mean? Like it used to be, I remember going out buying the expensive gifts for my stepson at the time. And then I'm like, he doesn't even play with them. So I'm like, you know what? I won't go out here and just buy the expensive gift. I'll see what they actually want and get them something that they actually want, learn. I get them something that's entertaining. I'll get them something they can learn from, and then something that's useful. You know, as long as I have three of those three things there, the rest of it's all good. But it's more so like my son has it clicked in him now that like, hey, Dad, you know what? Christmas is really about, you know, all of us getting together. I like it when family's around. You know, he loves being at my mom's house. He's like, Dad, this is like family central right here. This is where everybody comes. I'm like, yeah, has always been that house. This house is where all the family usually comes, especially on the holidays. This is where they are. He's like, Dad, I really like this part of the Christmas. You know, I'm like, oh, you catching on? Like, all right, cool. You know, it's fun having your family around you. You know what I mean? That to me was my biggest takeaway from my son when he was like, you know what, Dad, I get it now. Like, I like Christmas, this part of Christmas versus the present part.
There's good and bad parts about being around family. Sometimes like you can't do shit because your family's around. You're like, fuck, if I do that, then it's gonna leak back to them. Like being in a small town's like the worst, in my opinion, just because I'm from a small town. But
bro, where I live at or where I grew up at, my family is one of the staples of that county. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when you did shit, everybody knew that you did the shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's what sucks. But then a good part about it is that they're always like, you always have these gatherings more than just one day a year where you guys all get together. Mm-hmm. Like that's the saddest thing is that like Thanksgiving and then everyone fucks off for the rest until Christmas and then everyone fucks off for the rest of the year. Like February, Valentine's Day, that's just if you're married and that's if you're trying to get like laid. That's all that holiday.
Yeah, that's
really
more
is.
of a commercial holiday for that shit.
Condom sales go up.
Yeah, it's not really for fucking guys at all. It's more so what the fuck do you go and get the lady? You know what I mean?
Are people even using condoms anymore? Like their dick doesn't work from all the anxiety medication. There's probably not even a sale increase in. I used to see those everywhere on the street, like condoms everywhere. Like people are just fucking.
But
in the
now
street.
you don't. And because I thought there'd be a lot of COVID babies by now, but there ain't a lot of COVID babies either.
No, because you realize
or quarantine babies.
You realize during quarantine you hated your fucking partner, and there's a reason why you went to work 12 hours a day. Well, you know, they would order, I don't know, let's say it's a midwife and she's ordering tarot cards over to her house to get her tarot cards read to see what her future is going to be, while her husband's, you know, they're fucking her secretary. I don't know. That's what I always think of, like the classic, like Desperate Housewives style thing where like they're just sitting around drinking wine and talking shit. I know it's not like that now, and I know it's not like that, but back in the day it was like that in a sense.
Yeah. So. With the toast squares, the toast points, and mint juleps.
Mint juleps? Oh my god, that's a throwback, dude. I don't know why that just gave me the most like anxiety. I've never even seen what that looks like, but for some reason I've always heard that term in movies. I've always heard that. It's like in a bad guy in every movie having an eye patch. It was like every person that you know was going to be a psycho.
Scotch.
Yeah, and always anybody that was a psycho was drinking like a mint juleps or something like that. Like when Clint Eastwood would be like drinking a whiskey or something like that, you knew he's about to fuck shit up.
You knew it's coming. Somebody getting fucked up. Yep. But see, I also got you by like a good 2 decades. So
I think my branch or divide that we have between us comes together pretty well. I feel like I know a lot of the references you get.
Like hell, man. I got this one dude I work with, and we fuck with him all the time, man, because he's the youngest out of all of us that are there. Like all of us that are there were like late 30s to late 40s, right? And the youngin that's working there, he's only 24. And we fuck with him all the time because we'll be joking around and, you know, we'll be referencing stuff like Hanna-Barbera cartoons and shit, you know, stuff that we all knew. And he'll laugh with us, you know what I mean, just to be part of the group. And we're like, well, do you even know what we're talking about? He's like, nah, I just, you know, like, hold on, man. We'll help you out here. We'll get you along here. We'll coach you through this, you know, so you can be part of the mix.
So, like when someone's speaking another language and you just nod your head, like start laughing when you, because everyone knows
that's exactly
everyone knows
exactly
like when the point is to laugh. Everyone knows like, oh, I'm supposed to laugh here, and they start laughing.
Yeah. That's exactly what he does, young. And I can't help but laugh at it because I'm like, man, you don't understand the nostalgia that we're talking about right here. You know what I mean? Like, this is like some shit to us is just classic. You know what I mean? Where he doesn't get the reference.
I always go like, I do, but what do you think? Like, what do you think it means? I want to just get your thoughts on it. And then someone has to
You
explain
want to
like,
throw it back so you can catch it like, yeah, I was thinking that too.
yeah,
Yep,
okay.
you're
We're,
right.
We're
you're
on the
right.
same
I
page.
fucks
We're
with
on
you.
the same page.
Uh,
Yeah.
How's life out there on the coast though, man? Because with this little bit of snow, we only got a dusting out here. We ain't see shit.
No, we got like
I know y'all got
six to
smacked with
eight.
some shit, didn't you?
6 to 8 inches.
You shovel anything?
My driveway, other like my brother's driveway, just I mean stuff where I was going. I wasn't like going to like neighbors' houses and be like, hey, mind if I shovel your driveway for free? No
Now,
cash
for
involved.
some odd instance, I always thought you were just the only child. I didn't know you had siblings.
I have an older brother.
How old is you? Fuck, what's the age gap?
He's 4 years.
Oh, okay, that ain't bad.
Yeah. I mean, enough to where you get the snot beat out of you every single day.
Well, that's supposed to happen because you're the sibling. Y'all siblings are supposed to fight.
Well, there was a balance. There was usually you have 3 kids, and there's the older kid, and there's the middle kid, then there's the younger kid. One that gets all the love, one that's like the first trial, and one that just gets completely neglected. But the thing is, the neglect to the middle one would beat up the younger one. The younger one would go to the older one would beat up the middle one, and then it was like a chain. It was a chain cycle.
See, ours was different. Our dynamic was different because the younger one is my sister. She's the baby of the bunch. I was the middle child, and my brother. Now, me and my brother, we was like this growing up. And then when my sister came along, our mom would be like, yo, you need to take your sister with you. You need to take your sister. We hated taking our sister with us because my brother used to take me to the skating ring. He'd skate, and I play video games all night, But then we had to take my sister, and that means we have to take turns watching her. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I was like, fuck, I can't play my video game if I got to watch her. He can't go skate if we got to watch her. You know what I mean? So we would try to sneak out the house and wouldn't take her. And then she got into this narc mode. Like, she was the biggest narc on all of us when we were younger and constantly told on us, man. And it would piss us off so bad, that one day we actually got her with Large Marge. We had this prank. I don't know if you ever seen Pee Wee Herman's play Big Adventure.
Yeah.
But there's a scene in it where he's riding with this trucker and she turns and she's telling the story about how this trucker drives off this cliff. And she's like, the body looks like this and the face changes, right? My brother said, we're going to get her. Okay. So we set it all up. We were like, yo, watch this movie with us. She's all excited and shit to have you. My sister was like, had to be about 4 years old at the time, And we got her on the couch and we're like, we're going to go in the kitchen, pop popcorn. We start the movie at that spot where they're telling the story. She's just all into it. We're behind her on the, in the kitchen looking like we know this is about to go down. Large Marge pops up on that joker. She loses her shit. So from that point on, we told her, if you act up, Truckman's going to get you. That's what she thought that person was Truckman. No, this shit back fucking fired from hell. It was the worst fucking thing we ever could have fucking done because it just fucked us up for at least till she was, I want to say 13 years old, because every big ass truck that she saw, whether it be the trash truck, a semi truck, fucking the fire truck, it was Truckman coming. So she would lose her shit. Like, I was into monster trucks, right? And where we lived at, the Bigfoot and all of them, they brought the monster trucks out there where we lived at. I'm like, oh shit, this is like, they don't ever come out this way. So my dad was like, yeah, I got us tickets, your cousins were all going. I'm like, oh man, I'm hyped. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna see Bigfoot. This is gonna be tight. We can see all the monster trucks, all this shit. And he goes, baby girl coming too. I'm like, no, wait, what? Hold on. We're not taking her. We're not taking her. He's like, no, I'm taking baby girl. No, don't take her because it's not going to be fun. You cannot take her, right? So the whole way there, I'm talking to her. I'm like, look, Truckman is not here. We're going to go to the good Truckman. These are good Truckmans out here. The bad Truckman is not here to take you, right? I'm trying to put it in her head like, Truckman is not here.
You're trying to recover.
We get Yeah. I'm trying to make some shit happen because I'm real hyped. I want to see Bigfoot and I want to see these monster trucks, right? So we get out there. My cousins and them, they're already out there. They're climbing on the tires and shit. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. So I run over there. And it's like, as soon as I put my hand on the tire, I look back and I see my sister just standing there. And she's looking up at all the trucks. And she's like, if it was a movie scene, the camera would be going around her in a circle.
That inner crisis that no one else knows.
Yeah, and I know it. I'm looking at it and I see it coming. I'm like, come on, just hang on. Do not lose your shit. Please don't lose your shit. And I'm looking and all of a sudden she just blows up in the middle of the fucking event. She's losing her shit. My dad goes over there. She's like, Truckman's here to get me. Truckman coming to get me. Truckman's here. I mean, she's losing her shit. I'm like, no, I told you. These are good truckmen. These are the truckmen that fight the bad truckmen. These are the good guys right here. You know, da. Man, my dad was like, oh, well, I guess we got to go. I was so pissed the fuck off. I'm like, man, they are never going to come back into this town ever fucking again. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And you got to fuck it up for me because you decided to bring fuck baby girl because you had to bring your baby girl. Told you to leave her ass the fucking hole. Now we driving back. I see my cousins. They're like, all right, cuz, see you later. I'm like, man, this is bullshit. I can't even kick it with my peoples because goddamn it, we fucked her up.
Holy crap.
We had a car break down one time, bro, because of this shit. We were riding and fucking one of the trucks was pulling like a big fucking dump truck on the back of it. Pulled up right beside us. We're in the road. I seen this. I'm in the back seat with her, and I look back and I see this shit coming. I'm like, fuck. So I'm trying to talk to her so she doesn't look out the window, right? She looks out the window, loses her shit. At this time, she's like 7 years old then, right? She loses her shit. My dad pulls over on the side of the road, and the fucking car we was riding in would not start back the fuck up. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. What the fuck, man? This is bullshit. Yeah, for years, shit like this would happen, yo. Like when we had to take out the trash, we always took turns taking out the trash. I'll never forget the day she went to take out the trash and fucking she heard the trash truck coming. She's like maybe 9, 10 years old at the time, man. Heard that motherfucker change gears. Whoa. That bag of trash flew in the fucking air. Trash went fucking everywhere. She took off. Now my ass is out here cleaning up all the fucking trash that flew everywhere because she ran the house scared of the fucking truck. It was the worst prank that backfired for years, man.
I don't think I have any experiences like that. We didn't do a whole lot of pranking. There was just a lot of like, I don't know, you were mostly like just doing shit with playing by yourself.
See, that's just it. That was the only time we ever pranked her was that right there. Any other time we would just fart on each other.
Yeah, but that's a prank that never ended. It never ended. It just kept going.
We didn't know that shit was going to happen. That's
because you scarred the shit out of her. I try and wonder if the only thing I've ever been scarred from was the oven. And I learned how to use the oven during I think around episode 400, 500 of this podcast. I mentioned it a bunch of times. I swear to you, I was in my 20s when I learned how to use the oven.
Happy damn.
Because I watched a bunch of movies, because my parents never put a lock on the TV. They didn't care. They would watch horror movies out in the open and be like, you're going to get scared. And then you would watch it and then get scared. But it was I think there was a movie where they put someone in an oven one time. And then my brother, remember the one time I opened it, it was really hot. My brother would joke behind me like that. Like he's going to put me in there.
Yeah, okay.
And I was so fucking afraid of it for the longest time. I remember when I was doing the show, I would be like, oh, we got to wrap. And they're like, what do you mean you got to wrap? And I'm like, the oven's going off. I set the oven for 450 for 2 hours and I left my chicken in there and we've been talking for a while. So I got to wrap it up. And they're like, what? Like, that's insane. I'm like, well, no, it was great because I could just do the show and then also cook my food. I wouldn't have to worry. So I always ate cans of tuna and people are like, why do you always eat cans of tuna? I'm like, not only just for fitness stuff, but it's the easy stuff I could use when I was a kid. It was always bags of Doritos. It was always stuff out of the cupboard. There was never making eggs. That wasn't a thing. I used to watch my grandma make eggs and scream at the eggs as they popped in the pan. And I was like, why did you do that? I remember the one time I tried cooking it, it burned my hand. I was like, I don't want to do this at all, and then you realize you can just use spray and it's not going to do that to you.
See, my mom she had me in the kitchen early. She had me in the kitchen at about 10 years old, teach me how to cook. Cause She's like, look, you're gonna have to learn how to take care of yourself one day. And how I even do with my kids now, I throw them in the kitchen with me and have them cooking, man. Like my son got popped with grease for the first time. And he was like, Dad, what was that? Well, that's what happens when you have the flame up too high. I mean, heat too high right now. You got to cut it back a little bit and it won't pop. But that's what grease does. I said, what you do is you don't jerk away, because if you're holding on that pan, you jerk away, that shit flies up. Now, how you put out a grease fire, you got to smother it. You don't add water. Water to a grease fire is the worst thing you can ever do. As long as you understand these things, there's things you got to, like if I figure if I teach them young and something happens, their reaction to it won't be the immediate, let me go get this and fuck some shit up. You know what I mean? You got to be prepared for shit like that. You got to teach that calm when certain things happen. Because when things happen, you got to be able to react in a calm manner and make sure you do the right thing, because you just fuck shit up even more. Because I tell them all the time, like, yo, when we're in the kitchen, grease fire happens. What happens? What you put on it? He's like, you got to smother it. All right. Now, if you ain't got the top, what you do? Get baking soda. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Usually I have make sure I got the fire extinguisher close by, though, so they know where that is. But I'm like, if you're ever in like a dorm room and you guys don't have a fucking fire extinguisher, make sure you got some baking soda around, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, mostly. I guess another fear would be, I remember, I don't know if it's definitely not a wives' tale. It definitely could happen, but the likely chance of it ever happening is so rare. I would take an axe can and I would spray it and light a lighter in front of it, and I'd use it as a flamethrower.
You a torch.
And they're like, you're going to explode your hand. It's going to go up into the can and then explode.
Yeah, it can come back.
Whenever I flick a lighter now, I always think like if I hold it too long and let it go, sometimes the flame stays there for a second after you let the button go. I was like, what happens if it gets sucked back in the lighter and explodes? Because I learned that lighters can explode because I had someone that was opening up a bottle with lighters, fucking around with it. And someone's like,
pop the top with it.
Someone's like, don't do that. And I mean, this was when I was like 16. And the guy goes, why? He goes, those things can explode. He goes, that's just a myth. And then the guy grabbed it and off of a balcony, just full on threw it at the cement, and the thing fucking popped, and the loudest thing I've ever heard. And popping has been like a huge fear for me, like balloons, that I just won't get near them. Like I remember I was working in a hotel and they had bachelor parties and bachelorette parties. They had like dick balloons everywhere. I just wouldn't walk in the room. They're like, why are you like homophobic? I'm like, honestly, that's a better reason than what I actually am afraid of. And that's the fact that those things fucking pop.
That's interesting, bro. I ain't never heard that.
I'm good with it. Like I'm okay with it now, but like if I have a birthday party or if I go to a birthday party, the first question I'm asking is like, is there going to be fucking balloons there?
So could you couldn't deal with like the bubble packaging?
Oh, I can do that. Perfect. I'll pop bubble wrap all day. It's just those helium balloons or those, not even helium. I can suck up helium and do that type of stuff. But my fear is like those, when you hear that loud pop, that just gets me. Loud pops like that, they don't scare me. It's more of like I don't know. My body just like immediately starts getting like aware shit. And it gets me adrenaline and heart pumping real fast. I'm not scared. Like I'm not going to run away in terror. I don't like that. To me, that's like grabbing nails on a chalkboard. It makes my ears fucking hurt when it pops.
See, my thing with balloons is I can't do the squeaking of them. Like when people rub them, that sound fucks with my teeth and shit. The only phobia I got, and this is crazy, the only phobia I really have is heights. And it's not the actual height itself, it's the fall from the height. Because when I fell off a roof back when I was doing satellite installation, I used to be able to climb up big ass pitches and roofs and shit with no problem. But fucking when I fell off the roof, man, it changed my whole mental. Because I know it's all mental. Like if I'm on the top of my truck, because I got to go up to the top of the truck to open up the containers to drain it and everything, I can't look up. Like if I climb a ladder or if I'm on like a scaffolding or something, if I look up, I get dizzy as shit. My legs go numb. And I start sweating. Even at certain heights, I start just like I climb a 6-foot A-frame ladder, my legs will start getting numb and I'll start sweating and my breathing changes. And it just happens. I'm like, fuck, damn it. Ever since I fell off that fucking roof, I've been fucked up since.
I mean, I really don't like heights, but I'm not going to say all my fears. I don't really have a whole lot of fears.
That's the only one I got, really. And it's not even the height itself. It's the fall from it. Like, I'll hop in a plane, no problem. Like, I want to get on a hot air balloon. Wouldn't be an issue, but I just wouldn't be able to look up in the basket. Like, if I'm in the hot air balloon, if I look
fuck that, dude. I'm not even getting in that thing. I wouldn't even say nope. I remember I went was it parasailing? I
Oh,
worked
you
at
went
a
parasailing? Hell yeah.
I worked at a company that does parasailing when I did jet skis. I remember I went on the
Yeah.
boat and they're like, "Are you gonna go up?" And I was like, "No." They're like, "You're just gonna sit on the boat?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm not going on parasailing."
So you've never done that? My sister and her husband did that before. She said,
Never rode
I
a roller
forgot where they
coaster
were
either.
at. Oh, I used to love roller coasters, but then I got big, and roller coasters are not made for big people anymore. You know, they don't fit you right.
Yeah, you
You
start to
know what I'm
notice when the
saying?
bar doesn't go down all the way, and they're like, "You'll be good." You're like, "No, fuck that."
No, yeah, because they switched it from the joint that went over the shoulder. The joint that went over your shoulders was good because it clicked over the shoulder and then it clicked right there and you were straight. But then they went this lap belt. I'm like, my legs are fucking huge. I'll never forget the day I got kicked off of I think it was the Outer Limits. It was the last time I went to King's Dominion. The Outer Limits used to have the shoulder strap, right? And then they switched it up that year. They put it to the lap thing, so the lap bar. So I'm on this motherfucker now. I can't get the lap bar to go down. I'm like, I'm moving, I'm squeezing, trying to get the shit to work. And I'm like, my knees are already touching the back seat. Like, this never was like this before. So the guy comes and he's like, yo, sir, you can't ride this ride, right? So I'm like, ain't this about a bitch? So I get off the ride and everybody that's in the line, all the girls are going, oh, bitch, I don't need your motherfucking sympathy, man. Fuck that. Give me the goddamn shoulder joint back. Fuck this lap bar. Fuck all y'all little people.
I
I mean, I went off on everybody, bro.
I saw that Final Destination one, the third one, I think it was at the
With
amusement
the
park.
roller coasters, the third one, yeah.
Before I ever had a chance to ride an actual I've rode roller coasters, but not one that ever does a loop. So maybe that's what people call a real roller
Oh,
coaster.
you've never done a loop-de-loop joint? Oh, man.
I saw that movie before I could, and anytime I'm like, I'm not about it. Like when I go to a carnival or something like that, I'm more than happy to play some of the games, which I'm a pro at.
Games, yes.
Yes. But I mean, even ride the rides. Like I can ride the rides that are on the ground, but like put me up on I'm never going on a Ferris wheel. Fuck that. I don't give a shit who you are and how much I love you. I'm not going on a Ferris wheel.
So wait a minute, you ain't been on the big wheel out there by MGM
No.
on the harbor? What?
Nope. Never gonna go on it either. I hope it fucking falls into the pier when no one's on it, obviously.
God damn.
But like in that
the
movie,
Ferris
what is
wheels
it
aren't bad.
with Ryan Gosling where he's hanging off the Ferris wheel? Like, would you go out with me? No. And he goes and like starts letting go of his hands. I'm like, let him die. Fuck him.
Do you remember
Self-preservation,
you've
like
seen this.
self-preservation.
You remember the amusement, it was at King's Dominion. It was like swing seats, and it would take you up in the air and it fling you around. And it was just seats on a chain, and you'd be flung around the air.
I used to do those.
Yeah, see, I used to love those, man. Me and my sister, I remember the first time having her on one of those, and we got up in the air, and she's sitting next to me, and we're getting flung around, and she just starts losing her shit. So I'm like, fuck, I got to get her to laugh. Like my whole job as a child with my sister was just making sure that if I could get her to laugh, she's okay. Once I get her laughing, she's good. Like my dad, I remember when we got off the ride, my dad was like, boy, I was worried there for a second. I seen baby girl. She looked like she was crying. But then y'all go around a couple times and she started laughing. I was like, okay, she's okay. Because I was gonna make that dude stop at ride. And my dad had a way about him to make shit happen. Like if he wanted to stop at ride, he'd go up there and that ride is gonna get stopped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then I didn't want to be that kid to be like, oh, your dad fucked up all that shit for us. Like when it snowed one time and we're all at the bus stop waiting for the bus to come. My dad took every kid at this bus stop to school that day because the bus didn't show up, right? We're in the cafeteria and all the kids are sitting there looking at me like, man, we in school and this motherfucker's dad brought it. Because after a certain time, if a bus doesn't show up, you just go home. You didn't have school that day.
Yeah.
But no, my dad was the man and had to take us all in. And everybody's just looking at me and they like eyeball me like, I'm like, man, I'm about to get my ass whipped. These motherfuckers all gonna jump me because my dad brought us all to school. And then when we got to school, they were like, well, we're closing school now. I'm like, so now we all got to get back home. So now we have to sit at the school and wait for a bus to come there to pick us up to take us back from where my dad picked us fuck up from. I'm like, man, damn it, man. This is just bad. Why, Dad? Why do this to me?
Your dad didn't want you at the fucking house while he was there.
Yeah. He was chilling. He was good. What you doing home? They closed fucking school. Like it snowed. You took us to school and then they closed fucking school. Oh, sorry about that. Nah, man, because now everybody looking at me like, all right, if the bus don't ever show up, we know that this motherfucker's dad is gonna take us to school now. You know what I mean?
Mike, we're coming up on that 2-hour mark, my dude.
Holy shit, really? All right, I gotta eat me some breakfast.
I know, same. Isn't that funny? Because someone's gonna be listening at night, like they're eating breakfast at night. It's like, no, it's time travel. Time travel's podcast.
Breakfast for dinner is always good too.
Is when you're hungover. Yeah, I've realized that. I don't know how many times I had French toast at night. I was like, why the fuck are we having French toast again? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. My head hurts. Shut up. Okay. Mike, where can people find Mason and Friends show?
Yes, sir. The Mason and Friends show, man. Podcast. Check it out. We even got a website up. We're gonna have some gear coming up, here shortly. And also look out for me because I'll be doing voiceover work here soon. So yeah, a lot of stuff in the making right now. You can catch me on my Instagram at JAY_Rod_Statham. I also have jrodstatham@gmail.com if you want to reach me on my email. And I got other stuff in the making right now. I got other stuff in the works. So just keep an eye out.
Perfect. I'll link it all in the description. Thanks for listening to this episode. Out of the Blank.